The team on the last places in Formula One with only 5 points, Alpine, has been experiencing significant internal strife for many years, culminating in a massive shuffle of staff and leadership. The team includes 2 drivers who can't get along, and maybe soon the squad will continue as a customer team, powered by a Honda or Red Bull powertrain engine. When Formula One management and owner Liberty Media rejected the ambitious Andretti Global as the 11th team on the F1 grid, this was the dreaded scenario. The Americans would not add value in terms of sports, would not be commercially appealing, and would not be a factory team, at least not until Cadillac supported Andretti with its own power unit in 1928. As a result, Andretti had little business in motorsport's royal class, according to the theory. However, this video is more about Alpine rather than Andretti. The French team is now competing in Formula One, but they are gradually adopting all of the characteristics that led to Andretti's exclusion from the sport, especially if the decision is made to quit using the Renault engine. The top teams in the sport are distinguished from the lesser gods by precisely developing and producing their own power unit and being a factory team. Renault has declined to comment on allegations that the French manufacturer may withdraw from Formula One, with Alpine thought to be in negotiations with rival manufacturers over a power supply contract. Although Renault engines have won over 100 Grand Prix races, their results have suffered since leaving Red Bull, with Esteban Ocon's 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix victory the sole one since. Alpine is allegedly considering other solutions for 2026. That weekend, the Frenchman was in first place for Alpine, Renault's renamed works team. However, having failed to make the gains the team would have desired 3 years after rebranding and 8 years after splitting with Red Bull, sources suggest Renault may be on their way out of Formula One. Not for the first time this year, whispers are circulating that Renault will not enter the new era of power units in 2026. 2 years from now, Formula One will launch new power units as the sport transitions to a 50-50 combination of hybrid and electrical power, as well as sustainable fuel. Renault, which is already behind its rivals according to a 2023 FIA report, will apparently not make the jump. According to motorsport.com, Renault has questioned whether the massive investment required to produce its own engine is essential, leading Alpine team principal Bruno Famin to consider his options. Alpine and its parent company Renault feel the F1 team may be managed as a customer operation, with Famin in discussions with rival manufacturers to see what the alternative options could be. According to the article, Renault may look to Red Bull, who will build its own engines by 2026, to avoid a manufacturer clash. But one thing is certain, the team is not for sale, as they stated 2 months ago. In April, an Alpine official told that rumours and stories about the team being for sale are false. The team is definitely not for sale. This was reiterated when Renault CEO Luca De Meo spoke with Autocar. "It's not my style. We will not sell even a part of this thing. We don't need the money. I've had people making offers left and right, then talking in the press about it, but we're not interested. It would be stupid and I won't do it." During the lengthy discussion, he did note that Renault had never really grasped the turbo hybrid engine constraints, which had cost the company performance during the current regulatory cycle. "When we began the hybrid era in 2014, our engine didn't perform," he stated. "We had been world champions with Red Bull, but with hybrid, things went wrong. Even the engine we developed in 2021 had a 0.2s to 0.5s disadvantage every lap, and this year we've screwed up with the car. If you combine everything, we're up to 1.5s from where we need to be." Alpine attempted for years to nestle between Ferrari, Mercedes, and Red Bull Racing, a factory team of sorts thanks to Honda, with their own Renault engine, but despite significant investments, aspirations were never met. The news that Alpine is considering leaving the Renault power unit, which would mean it would no longer be a factory team, demonstrates that enthusiasm among the company's top executives for participation in Formula One is waning. After all, constructing a robust power unit is expensive. After the last few years, there appears to be little interest in releasing a large budget again, in the hopes that it will be used to advance in Formula One. Regardless of how you look at it, a customer team is always at a disadvantage when compared to the party that built the power unit. Alpine appears to be willing to face this consequence. At the same time, one cannot help but feel that the disposal of the Renault power unit is a prelude to Formula One's last goodbye. After all, What if the squad does not compete for prizes with a Honda or Ferrari engine? In that situation, it would not be difficult to abandon the F1 effort entirely and concentrate on the WEC squad, which, incidentally, had a dramatic 24 hours of Le Mans. Meanwhile, Michael Andretti will be paying close attention to what happens at Alpine. With all his heart, he will take over Alpine's estate and form his own team from there, featuring a factory engine. Audi and Red Bull Powertrains Ford will join the list of suppliers, bringing the total to 6. Renault is now joined by Mercedes, Ferrari and Honda. That number is likely to drop to 5 by 2026, with half of the teams being consumers. F1 would have to wait until 2028, with the possible debut of General Motors if Andretti makes it onto the grid, for the number of suppliers to increase. For the time being, Alpine's Formula One future is set. If Renault decides to discontinue the engine project, there are competitors that are willing to step in and provide from 2026. Honda and Audi are two of the major prospects, with each providing only one team in 2026. Aston Martin will be powered by the Japanese manufacturer from that year, while Audi will form a works team after acquiring Sauber. However, the Audi project will be new, and it is unclear whether it will want to build a customer team immediately once. To make matters worse, development is behind schedule, forcing Alpine to continue rotating their heavier chassis while being a couple of kilos overweight in Canada. Gasly and Ocon both scored points in Montreal, despite some concerns over a late position change. However, the fact that both drivers finished in the top 10 was a great outcome for Alpine, given Ocon's poor qualifying performance. Ocon finished 18th in the first stage of qualifying, missing out on Q2 by a tenth and a half behind Alpine teammate Pierre Gasly. In addition to dealing with traffic, Ocon stated that some of his lead over Gasly derived from driving a heavier chassis than his teammates since Miami. "It's been a couple of events that my car is quite a lot heavier than Pierre's. We will rotate fairly in the year, that is very clear. But since Miami, that is the case. When all these things add up, it makes it difficult to go through Q1. Ocon began the season on Alpine's lighter chassis before switching to Gasly, and it is expected that both drivers will move chassis again later on to keep things fair. He was lighter at the start of the year, and then obviously we swapped parts, so I'm 1 kilo lighter or something like that. It's still very close. However, with Alpine still in a close battle with Haas, Williams and Sauber for 7th position in the Constructors' Championship, Team President Bruno Famin remarked that it is in everyone's best interest to conclude its partnership with Ocon in the best possible way over the next 15 races. I think Esteban can count on all the team to help him to get the best result, because Esteban having the best result is helping the team having the best possible result," Famin said. "We count on Esteban to bring everything he can bring to the team. We will not put him aside at all. He will have exactly the same condition as Pierre. They are on the same level, same status. We know they are very close in terms of the performance, and it won't be good to do something different for anybody. Again, it's team interest. Alpine interest first." What do you think will happen with this legendary team? Will they get a new engine supplier? Will they sell the team? Or will they patiently wait for the things to come along and get back in the first half of the standings? Let us know in the comments down below.